Hello, welcome back to Imizizi Conversations. You're here with Boning Sishia from Imizizi. Imizizi, just as a reminder for the newbies, is a people management company. We do all the way from your managing your assisted companies with people needs, hire to retire, advisory, and projects. This is actually our first full year of Music Conversation.
Awesome.
So you're
Wow.
celebrating with us.
Oh, wow.
Today I'm with Brantley, head of enablement.
Delivery.
Delivery. No, it's enablement.
Yeah, it's delivery enablement.
Delivery enablement.
Yeah.
Right, man. At Cecil. Head of delivery enablement at Cecil.
Yes.
And our topic today is the impact of digitalization on people. I have to say that so many times.
Yeah.
That L tricks you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
No, great. Very happy to be here.
Yeah.
Specifically to talk about the topic that is close to my heart. Really. Um, private conversations. We talk a lot about this. I've got a research on it. So
welcome back to Imizizi.
it's really exciting times. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I want to actually start off with maybe you telling us what the difference between digitization and digitalization is, because I know it confuses so many people. So if you could maybe just break it down for us a little bit.
Maybe just with the introduction. So part of my job at Sassel is to look for innovation. So now back to the question. So, and I've seen a lot of people use the words interchangeably. Digitalization and digitization is two different things, right? Digitalization, I think the best way to explain it is just to think about it practically, right? You think about maybe a government department or legal department that is using physical documents. So the process of scanning those documents or the photos into a system or database, that's what they call digitization, right?
Yes.
Right. But there's a key there. Okay. The key is that it's actually the same data.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's like capturing.
Yeah.
So even if it was like written down, I was like just capturing. Okay.
Yeah. So there's nothing special you're doing about it.
Okay.
Right. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Digitalization is, and it's a longer, probably, let me just take some time to explain what that is. The best one to explain that is understanding almost the era that we live in today. Some people call it fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
Because human beings have gone through three other revolutions. And this particular one is special. I'm sure we'll talk about some more. It's characterized by disruption. It's therefore easy to talk about digitalization in the context of digital transformation, right? And it's exactly that. It's digitalization. It talks more about the transformation part.
Okay.
If you remember.
Yeah.
In fact, I would think a lot of companies you would like to digitize than digitalize.
I think a lot of companies want to digitalize, but they digitize.
Exactly.
Thinking that they're doing that.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you're bringing in disruption, right?
Yeah.
Because when I was thinking about the word impact, I was like, impact is one of those things that it won't leave you the same way as it found you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's why then the digitalization, it's more of a transformation of whatever it is from point A to point B.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I mean the key there about the transformation, maybe let me just try to give maybe an academic explanation of what this is. So I talked about the fourth industrial revolution, which came with, disruptive technologies, right? Talk about AI, big data, and all those kind of things. Digital transformation is actually the mechanism that we apply those technologies with business model to create value.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So that's an academic.
I need to I need to write it down in case I forget and I need to come back. Okay, so then the digitalization, then you basically saying it will be sitting mostly in the business space. So it wouldn't then have a lot of impact. How would it have an impact on the Joe Slogan Street? How does it look like?
Yeah. So I mean, earlier we talked about society, right? And I said, um, obviously, people we are part of the society. And what's interesting before we talk about Joe on the street is that human beings, as I said, they've gone through transformations for many centuries. And to be honest, the impact on skills is not happening now. All the revolutions actually had impact on skills, right? If you think about what COVID has done, where government had to sort of, you know, either shut certain departments, the banks. We've seen the banks where you used to walk into a branch, now you have to do a lot of things online.
Yeah.
That's how it affects Joe. You know, Joe today, how he interact with the traffic department, you have to set an appointment to go, which you actually do online. So it's really digitalization is part of every human being, which is actually something very interesting for me, that even in the definition itself, they didn't use people in it, which I feel, which is what I feel. That's why a lot of digital transformation, programs actually go wrong, because they don't take along the people. But again, back to a question, Joe on the street is very much affected by it. How we interact with our money today is digital. So and we've seen that.
And you mentioned how in the definition of digitalization you do not mention people, right? And I know I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, I wonder if this is a chicken and an egg story. In the sense, especially like in business, in the sense that, because if you think about it to the layman's man, digitalization is like innovation. It's right up there with those words, right? And when a business is like, we need to be innovative, they hardly think about the person before they innovate. So it's the same. You're basically saying that digitalization is the same. Where even in business, have you seen instances where the person comes last?
Many times. I mean, there's in fact, maybe I should mention this. Digital transformation is probably one of the most researched topic today. Whether you're talking about academic, you see a lot of people on LinkedIn with the profiles that they are digital transformation specialists, and so on. So what I have seen, there was an article that I actually referenced in one of my dissertations from MIT that basically was talking about that most of the digital transformation programs think about the human in it later. As an afterthought. And for those that do research as well, you'll find some of the reasons that digital transformation programs fail is because the human is not in it. If you think about it, we do digitalization, we bring in tools for people to use in the most cases. So then it doesn't make sense that the same people that need to use these tools, they're not part of,
it's almost
from
like
the workup.
It's almost like we're always trying to play catch up, right? Because now there's a new tool, and I mean, just in business alone, you get a new tool and you're told this is the tool, figure out how to use it.
I mean, you and I probably have this experience where we have some companies that have global reach, where they're trying technology somewhere
Mm.
in Europe and they know it works.
Mm.
It comes in South Africa and it fails, and you ask why. Just there.
Because we will look at it like, I guess, what's
Exactly.
going on? What is this?
What's going on? What is this?
Yeah.
Because cultures play a big part about it. Education, big part about it. Large part of Africa, is connected, and we can even um, argue even from cloud perspective. You say, why is there no, a lot of adoption decided? You ask yourself, how is the infrastructure?
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
um, the same application that you access maybe from here, but from the other side of the world where the network is much faster, you have different experiences. So for me, it's still beyond me that we only think about people after. And I understand the pressure in
Yeah.
most cases. And I also forgive the companies that try stuff overseas first and say, "Yo, this stuff will work." It worked very well in China.
Mm.
But
What do you think I mean, I don't know if you know, but what do you think the reason for the lack of adoption is? If you're comparing, a tool given to China versus then they bring it here.
Yeah, that's a bloated, I think, question, right?
Mm.
There's different layers of it. First, I talked about culture.
Yeah.
There is another lens of leadership, that comes with that. A lot of digital transformation, people argue, although you need a transformational leadership, but the success has been seen where change comes from the top. You know, having leaders walking, the talk, if you like. So, and that's where that change comes about. When you do that, then you have adoption, right? The other thing is, and I said this to some of my colleagues, that I believe, uh, folks embrace change. Why? Because the minute the president said the country is shut down, he must stay home. The soldiers on the street, we actually stayed home, right? So
we had to have the soldiers.
yeah. So there's different layers to your question. The other one is, the whole idea of playing nice. Playing nice have people that are just disruptors, people that are change makers, that you want them to spread almost the gospel like a virus. Then that will affect change. I've spoken about two things. Obviously, is change makers, but I also just believe that the role of leadership,
Yeah.
and making sure things are adopted is
Yeah.
very key.
Yeah.
The other thing that I find out personally,
Yeah.
so we bring a lot of tools, right, which is great, and then we ask ourselves, why are folks not using these tools? Wow, they have options not to do it, right? Right, and I argue
of that first.
I argue, and my boss always says this, that in a big organization you actually need to have policies. It's very key. You know, HR's got policies,
Yeah.
supply chain's got policies.
Yeah.
So to adopt these things, really, it's just gonna be, we're not gonna release your product if the product was not registered somewhere else or in that tool. So policies and procedures become very key to drive that, adoption.
Yeah. So from what I'm hearing, and I could be, from what I'm hearing is it would be good for us to put the person first
Yeah,
and be
very
like,
much so.
in this scenario,
Yeah.
what does the person need?
Yeah.
Then it would be maybe the other way around. The impact people have on digitalization.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't quite understand.
Yeah. I mean, we launched, it was a POV, proof of value, that we ran, for a few weeks really. And what I was saying to my team was that the best change agent is actually the client that you build the solution for. Let them come and talk about what the solution does. How does it solve, their problems? Because they know the problems better.
Yeah.
Just on that, you'd also know I'm also a person that believes in the whole concept of citizen development,
Yes.
which essentially the core of it has got a person in it. It actually says that we recognize as IT that business knows the problem better.
Better. So you're
And they've
empowering
done, and
them.
you're empowering them, so that is a human element of it. So, and I think, the role of IT needs to change. This thing where we are all of that, and
But
the role of IT is to really enable business to digitalize,
yeah.
not for IT to be innovators. We all want to be innovators, to be honest, but
Yes. But now we all take a tool and say, because now we just think of a tool.
Yeah.
And it's a tool I'm gonna put, you come up with a tool and I'm like, I can make that better,
Yeah.
or I can support it better.
Yeah.
But there are instances though, Bram, where sometimes the innovation helps coming first. And I mean, you mentioned it with COVID, where if we didn't have certain tools or, digital infrastructures, it would have been a bit more difficult for us to actually even work.
Yeah.
Although people had to, it was the tool is there now, you had to learn how to use it. 'Cause
Yeah.
we found out later that a lot of people didn't even know what Zoom was.
Yeah.
No.
We've seen stories of government and folks. Yeah, that's true.
And the Zoom stories.
Yeah.
So,
But the positive part of that is how resilient human beings are, because they quickly learned. They quickly learned the do's and don'ts. They quickly learned that you have to switch off the video. So that's the
put
positive
yourself on
story,
mute.
and put yourself on mute, right? So really the story of people around technology is amazing. Today, when people talk about now, there's a new word. We talk about hybrid, workplace, right? It's something that came out of COVID, has been raised, influenced by people. If you want to see how important people are in the U.S., they talk about a great resignation.
Great resignation.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, it's a phenomenon. Really, just came out of COVID, where COVID forced people to work from home. Now, if you like, organizations are asking folks to come back to work.
Yeah.
And the folks, during the time that they were at home, they developed a certain culture where, you work the way you are, as you like it, in your own space. You have flexibility. At about 2, you're going to drive to go pick up your kids. So folks are looking for that flexibility. And then we see, at least the trend in the US that people are, resigning or joining companies that actually give them flexibility. Other thing is, I was asking one of my colleagues in the US, I said, what is this great resignation? He said, she said, one of the things that people are looking at, folks don't want to work permanent anymore. They want to do different jobs.
Yeah.
I was like, that's actually quite
Like
interesting.
freelancing in different spaces.
It's like,
Wow.
yeah. So those are the positives that came out of COVID that really brought in a whole different
way
environment.
of being. And I mean, this speaks so true then to the actual impact on people.
Yeah.
Because, the digitalization of everything made us realize that we've got options. To the point that you were saying that I don't have to use the tool. I've got options now.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting that the more we get into this digitization transformation process, the more it seems, and this way you can help me out, the more it seems that we're moving away from IT and digital things. Do you know what I mean? Because more people now are okay to say, actually, the way we lived before was so high paced and it was so hectic. Now that I know that I can actually work from Johannesburg
Yeah.
while I'm relaxing
Yeah.
has been a thing, and it's a positive and a negative thing in a way. It's positive for the person,
I really think it's more
negative
positive.
for the companies.
In what way? So okay, maybe let's not debate that. We'll just give you my opinion, right?
Okay.
I and I'm saying this without data, but I've got a view that um, um, I'll give an example. I mean, there's folks that will drive for about an hour or two to get to work, right? And a lot of disruptions at work as well, disruptions, whatever.
Yeah.
And then another 2 hours back home.
Mm.
Well, there's actually, I think it's a research from Microsoft that has shown that working from home, a lot of people actually did uh, perform well. They put out a lot of effort, at work. You don't really have so many smoke breaks. For example, chit chat, which is very important, but not all the time. So for me, I think the hybrid environment probably will work for many organizations because you still need the human touch. I mean, we're talking about the people today.
Yeah.
You still need, especially if you work in a creativity space, we still need to meet. Some of the energies come from emotions. You draw that from people. Probably harder to get that part on Zoom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or Teams,
Yeah.
whatever it is. So I think a hybrid, it's a win-win. Uh, yeah, that's my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I mean,
yeah.
I'm just playing devil's advocate, right? Because
Unless if you
mentioned it-
believe on the bum and seat,
No.
that's a different story.
No. And I mean, a lot of micromanagers are struggling because they can't do the bum and seat.
No, but it can't be micromanager after 2 years, though.
Hey,
We've been getting old
Bona,
for 2 years.
there's people who still manage to micromanage. I mean, there's people who complain that they work harder at home because there's a perception almost that you don't have a break. You actually don't do smoke breaks. You don't have to be. So now you've got more time, and people are working from like 6 to 9 at night.
Yeah.
Because your micromanagers are just like, I want to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I think for me, again, I mean, just devil's advocate.
Yeah.
The biggest issue that I think companies would be coming across in that instance is the culture.
Yeah.
The people,
Yeah.
and almost the disconnect.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a disconnect. If you're having a meeting online, always with no cameras on,
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
you're talking to us.
What's really funny?
It's horrid.
Yeah, because I've seen, I asked somebody, like, why is it that every time we talk to consultants, they all have videos on? Is it like your company policy to have a video on? Look, I do that a lot, though. Normally, my meetings, I'll put the video on. I think really just trying to show that connection to human on the other side, which sometimes make a lot of sense why this hybrid thing actually works, right? But on that, I also heard of some entrepreneurs that said, look, I had to get people come back to the office. One is some people cannot afford to work from home. They don't have, the working environment that the work actually provide, right? Some folks, it's just a discipline. So you was telling me that, the lack of discipline, where someone was telling me of, guys that just don't pick up the calls anymore at home when they get called. Yeah, so exactly that,
Doing
right?
other jobs.
Exactly right. So so that's I think a balance. As a manager, you gotta find ways of how you get the value out of folks, and certainly there might be certain work environments that folks have to be there. For example, in production, you're running a production, so someone needs to be there to produce stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a different give and take kind of thing, which I think a hybrid is the best way to enforce company culture.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Yeah. So in your space, right, you're in the delivery neighborhood.
Yes.
Which means that you are thinking a lot about innovation and digitalization. Um, what are some of the things you think, like, what are some of the things you think about when you are trying to put these things in place and how it would impact the individual? Are you thinking, okay, maybe let me ask it in this way, because it's a
Yeah.
couple of, again, it's a
There's a couple of
very
things there.
layered one, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you thinking the immediate person it's going to impact? Are you thinking how it would be like over time this would be taken on and used for the future?
Yeah, probably over time,
Mm.
right? I mean, I was listening to my CIO um, 2 days back at the CIO event, and one of the things that he said, probably the mistake that a lot of companies would do is to think you can achieve transformation in 2 years.
Yeah.
It's no such thing.
Wow.
It's much longer.
Doesn't that depend on the size of the organization?
Well, probably yes, it does. Actually, it does. So the more, in fact, we're talking about exactly that, right? So the companies that are much older and much larger, it will take longer because there's a culture thing that you have to deal with first, and you know, uh, before you even get to technology, I feel, right? There was a story. One of the small investment companies, the founder, right, at the same talk, was talking about how they have autonomous teams, and you know how you know they manage to release products into production. I think almost every second week,
Yeah.
right? And I said to him, he was probably born digital, right? That's why he's able to do that. A lot of companies that are big and they still have to deal with bureaucracy or just even legacy systems, they will take take longer. You're right. So, but really, I believe what Masiao was saying, that big organizations, we have to be patient with ourselves. The first 2 years, really setting up the ground. We're dealing with a lot of foundation stuff, the culture.
Yeah.
You want to collapse all of that,
Yeah.
the hierarchical kind of way of thinking, command and control. You want to sort of deal with those stuff, which is why I feel that HR needs to be in the forefront of digital transformation, which is actually not. It happens to be IT oftentimes, and that's where the
Because
people.
that's
what the
big
people
fancy
aspect we're missing.
thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you ask me if you have to do digital transformation all over again, I'll probably say HR needs to lead it. HR needs to be the change agents, because digital transformation is not just about this one. Technology should be the last thing, really. But IT focus on technology a lot.
Yes.
So, what HR will help you with the softer kind of skills.
That's us, guys.
Yes. The softer kind of skills.
Yeah.
They've also said, I'm sure we'll talk about the skills issue, how people really transition.
Yeah.
They also said that people that have so softer type of skills, like softer kind of skills, are probably much harder to have. You can learn technology very easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things like leadership, creativity, and all those sorts of things,
Yes.
critical thinking,
Yeah.
are very key, even to enable people to transfer or to move from one job to another. If you know what I'm talking about.
Because in actual fact, you're so right. Because to your point, what you were saying, I mean, from the fact that digitalization is a transformation, and it is a journey, but it is a journey with an individual in mind. You know what I mean?
100%.
And it's actually quite profound what you've just mentioned now, because before I was reading something, and I remember someone was talking about education and how education over time has become a feeding of data versus the guiding of the individual to almost come out,
Yeah.
to be who they need to be
Yeah.
able to consume the
Yeah.
stuff that is happening around them.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably where we are missing the plot in this digitization, because we're looking for the next flashiest, fanciest thing, and everyone wants to be the first to get it.
No, you're right. But I think the big part of it, though, is got a lot to do, as I said, you need to understand that the fourth industrial revolution means disruption. In fact, computers were discovered in the third revolution. The difference between the two is because this particular one, the change is exponential.
Yeah.
That's the difference. So basically, in short, what it means is the rate at which new technology comes in, it's much faster.
It's faster than people have the
So
time to actually take it on.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
look at
the
my
app
kids,
world
I
is
mean, I was
crazy.
like, yeah. I mean, Ellie now's got a different accent, by the way. She had a different accent, I think, few months ago.
I love that though, and it's something that I think we shouldn't take away from kids.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like they're trying to find what works with them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know, and I'm getting my kids to code.
Yeah.
And now my son always talks to me in loops.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no.
Speak
No,
English.
this is what we're doing right now. So the actual impact and the disruption on people.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways do you think that we could almost pace ourselves to be able for people to consume while we are also growing?
Sure. Yeah, it's a
Maybe
big,
in the
it's a big
workspace.
question. I mean,
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
focus on the work because I was
Yeah.
just thinking about my mom, right? So, my mom lives in
Maybe that would be a
Lives in
much
the
more
rural.
interesting.
yeah. So my mom is not being anywhere close to school.
Yeah.
She's never been to school, and even today, I mean, if you check the way we communicate or even we send money, it's digital, and she had to either rely on a neighbor or learn. So that part I think it kind of helps, but
Yeah.
the fact is we are really connected. Some
Yeah.
of the changes that happen we have no control on. We totally have no control on. Some changes might even just come from government. With government, transitioning now from analog to digital, it means different things. It might mean that the society at large is more connected, and I feel that the sense of community, the more, and I'll talk about work first, but the more folks that do have the skills, they go back, interact with the communities, churches. The churches nowadays, in fact, a lot of churches actually have apps. How you donate,
Yeah.
how you interact, or you socialize.
So
It's
in
through.
church when they say Gucci, people
Yeah,
are-
the cells now.
there's
Yeah.
others who are like
There's
just log on to the app.
registration. Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
Right. Right.
that's fancy. fancy.
Yeah. So I think those communities will play a bigger part, especially in Africa. I mean, we're really generally very spiritual folks. That sense of community, sense of that sharing information, very key. Which is why one of the reasons that motivates me to speak even at conferences, because I really believe that there isn't a single company that can solve the kind of problems that we face in the era that we're in.
Yeah,
That collaboration is very key.
I know, and I know you're big on education, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, most of these tools and this digitization or digitalization started as a very like a noble idea, trying
Yeah.
to better people. I mean, at its very roots.
Yeah.
right? But now we're getting to a point where lack of skills,
Yeah.
is becoming a thing
Yeah.
for the fancy tools, the new
Yeah.
and the fancy things. I mean, DevOps on its own
Yeah.
trying to find a DevOps engineer
Yeah,
is
yeah,
it's like trying to find the
Data
needle in
scientist.
the haystack.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
yeah,
And now we're getting to a point again where, in that regard,
yeah,
it's impacting us negatively
yeah,
because people are struggling to find jobs,
yeah.
and only like 1% are getting paid this ridiculous amount of money. Like, how do we now
Address that.
address that? How do
Yeah.
we swivel back?
It's a bigger problem. I mean, the skills is not a well. It was in Africa, but it's really not an African problem. It's a global. Recently, I was in Europe. You can start seeing the uh, the diversity of people that you meet, and you could easily tell these folks came here because of the skills that they actually have. There's a serious war on skills, I think.
Mm.
America's always done well in it. They've always won on it because they had programs that, if, for example, you study in the US, you do PhD, you get that's your route to citizenship, right? So that's how you fight that war. India started the Indian war on skills. It's now probably one of the things that make India one of the powerful countries today. It was even said, if you look at GDP that they have, that a lot of money that they actually have is from the kids that they send overseas. They're sending money back home. So, but they started this 30 years ago. Kind of make IT the center. I look in the news. You look at some of the giants. You talk about companies are led by Indian folks. It was not by accident. It's something that the forefathers had a vision around. Let's build this thing around IT. IT is going to be a forte. China is obviously the supply chain of the world in terms of that production, stuff like that. So skills is we are on this sort of a long haul. It's something that I'm going to tell you because I actually had this in one of the strategy sessions. I think around 2050, they say that Africa will have the youngest population in the whole world.
Youngest
Yeah.
Africa.
Right?
Okay.
Population.
Yeah.
The largest, by the way.
Okay.
And then Europe and Asia. Europe in particular will have the oldest.
Okay.
Right. But there was a question that was asked, what will Africans do? What will young Africans do?
Okay.
Right. Will they jump on the plane, go and solve the problem that older people have in Europe? or stay here, solve the African problems? So the skills for me, it's a war that is actually been a Cold War that has been ran for a very long time. So we're trying. I mean, your question is really what do we do, right? Government, obviously, they're trying. I mean, they started the launch. I think it was Fourth Industrial Committee that the president has set up. The guys are they've released a blueprint, if I'm not mistaken. The CETAs are doing the best that they can in terms of that. But essentially, I feel the universities have to change, in terms of how they focus specialization. I mean, you only hear of Salesforce.
Why universities though? Like, why are we not starting it in
No.
grade
It's got to
something?
start. I mean, sure. I was just saying, most universities have not changed. I mean, if you look at even just MBA, I'm doing MBA now. I feel like how leadership has been taught in MBA has probably been the same for the past 100 years.
And they're not adapting to.
The change is harder, I feel. Right. But to your point, your kids now learning programming, which you and I never had that opportunity. When we were talking about extracurricular activities for kids. Kids come home and then we debate, and I was told that um, it is going to do monkey gymnastic or whatever it is. I was like, what the hell is this thing? So I understand the programming. So if anyone's doing programming, then I don't understand, because it's really something that I didn't have. And you really want, if there's one thing for me, I feel programming, mathematics, all those kind of things needs to be something that everybody actually really learns. And but it's a complex. So the government needs to get involved. The industries need to collaborate more.
The companies that
yeah,
have the muscle.
They need to really keep on driving those learnerships that they have, but they have to be focused. I still, there's folks that we, take so much of learnerships, but not focused. Sometimes, I mean, how many kids you have met today that have done 3 or 4 learnerships? Every year is like a leadership, because they're just trying to survive. So that needs to be revamped. There's no use to have folks coming in when you don't have a plan for them.
So I'm still stuck on the Africa having the youngest population.
Oh yeah.
Did they say why? How this is a thing? I'm
actually,
gonna build onto my.
I don't know for sure, but you can Google this one. It could actually be earlier than 2050, actually. Yeah. I don't want to get into because I'm not educated in population science.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a fact. We're gonna have more. We're the youngest population, in fact. It could be attributed to, I don't know, health, because maybe older folks, we're gonna have the kind of systems that in Europe they have medical, that in Europe they have, that people live longer. And I'm saying there's I need to be corrected on this one, but also because some of countries, if you look at China many years ago sort of had a policy that they shall have 1 kid.
Yes, I remember.
Right.
Yeah.
Now they're saying 2, but
yeah.
that actually, it's very rippling fact. There was a story in Japan, I think, about I don't know if people are no longer getting married or something like that, but folks are actually just not having lots of kids, right?
Given the option.
Yeah. So there you go. But whatever reason is, I don't want to get into that debate, but whatever reason is, so I don't know if you know this. Africa is almost like 1 billion people.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we are a lot.
Yeah. So again, I hope no one asks me questions that you ask why we're going to be younger, but I think there is a lot of factors, but it is a fact that Africa is going to have the youngest population. And then the question is, what are they going to do?
So I was going to say that, because to me it seems from what you were saying that it's possible that the newest and fanciest things that we're doing, the processors, the tools, is because of the loudest person.
Yes.
Whoever was the loudest and has the skills, that's where we're thinking the world is going, right? So it's possible that Africa can then be that.
Yeah.
If we then decide to be, change our processes, in your opinion, our processes, our education, then we can, make a hoo-ha about what we're doing, and therefore the skills, because we're already thinking about the skills.
Yeah, so we have seen this with Indian population. And I always argue, I hope my friends out there, not going to worry me, they're not going to ask me too many questions about this, but the reason why we have, other jobs are shipped to India, or you have so many Indians solving the problems because there's just so many of them. And the Indian government made it a strategic plan to have people educated in IT, right? So the keyword there is the masses, right? So if Africa is going to have this masses, potentially what might even help, and I'm saying this again out of this topic, is the more you get that integration where you don't have the borders, you almost have one Africa kind of situation. Then you have those masses. The yeah, they that can actually help in terms of getting folks to stay here, solve the problems. It will be even nicer, maybe get the older guys in Europe to come here for medical science.
Yeah.
Let's solve the problems from here. Let's not
It's so
go over there.
Find your issues. Yeah,
You know what I mean? So, but I think it's a topic that needs to be explored.
Yeah.
But part of these conversations you are having is the big part about it is really educating folks out there. When folks see Bramley from the rural area, now we're having to speak with knowledge on certain things, and we inspire certain folks, and with that, the more we are, the more we're going to solve the problems that we have in Africa. So.
And that is so true. I mean, when I came to Joburg to study, I think I'd only seen a computer 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And I remember telling my mother that, no, I'll be doing information systems.
Yeah.
And she's like, what is that? No, do accounting. I know my friend's child who did accounting and she's got a very good job. This is what you need to do. You know what I mean? And it's such a beautiful thing to look back and be like, as much as I wasn't quite sure.
You must tell your kids about it. Tell your kids about the options they have.
And be like, listen, you have options, because my daughter wants to be a chef. She could not be bothered by anything else. But just back on the skills.
And I'll tell you a story about
on
that.
The government, I found out recently, and I don't know how true this is, I could be wrong, is that they're on a drive now to say companies in South Africa must hire the scarce skills with South Africans. They're actually limiting the number of people, foreigners, who can work with these scarce skills that we currently have. I mean, just in your opinion, how is this going to impact, organizations? Because the ramp up to get most of our South Africans in power with the skills that are required for the tools that we now currently have and need them running. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, look, I mean, the skills become a commodity. And people that are skilled, I mean, there's a lot of reports there that, they move around. It's quite natural. As I said, America becomes the master of that. They've done it without actually saying it. We just make it noisy in South Africa. Quite frankly, in the US, they special visas, smart kids, or whatever it is, right? So as a nation, we're connected to other nations. I feel it's a good approach. We need to get areas that can add value to the growth of this country. We need to open those areas and to have foreign folks coming in to help us with that. We've seen with countries like New Zealand, Canada, the number of doctors. Actually, we have good medical schools, and folks go. You can't stop folks from.
By the way, one of the best medical schools for the longest of time was in Mthatha, from my hometown.
Was it?
Yeah.
What school is that?
I think it was Unitra.
Really?
I'm just like
Was I ask your
But I
mom?
was
So you must ask your folks around it. But in short, I cannot see how the politics of nationalism, that kind of stuff. You know, in a global sense, it's a very flawed mathematics. You're always going to need folks to come in to help you. Hopefully, we use them in a very efficient ways. That if you're going to bring in skills that you have bought somewhere, then you use that to uplift your people. And I think that's what we need to be
Yeah, we need to get
investing in. Take advantage of that rather than saying, hey, we have these specialists from the US, but rather maybe part of the conditions is that they're going to develop, the people,
someone.
local folks, and that goes for you and I as well. I don't know if you ever go back to, Eastern Cape and talk to the schools there or talk to folks that you grew up in the community where your mom lives. Some folks see us coming back home with big cars and we don't even talk to locals anymore. Because of the life that we have today. And I'm saying that's got to stop.
And in that regard, then I suppose the impact wouldn't be so positive on them. I suppose the guys that if we are now not coming back and saying, I now went to school and I learned information systems, now I know all about these things, and I'm not going home to, bring my people back with me.
And you know what's funny? When they start behaving in a certain way, we're thinking, oh, look at this guy. He's so lost. But also because we're just not sharing the information. At first, what I used to do when I used to go home, I would go home. I think the beginning of my career, I used to see, come from each family, almost see my uncles, everybody, I go everywhere. Then I got to a point where I'm just going there to see my mom. I drive out, don't talk to anybody. I realize now, which is stages that probably you go as an individual, that I need to share more of me with people. I want to make myself available. So one of my leaders was saying that when he goes home, there's actually people lined up to see him.
Wow.
I was like, man, I want to do that. People are lined up to see him.
Why is that? Like, what is he doing?
No, because one is, going back home, a lot of us, we make a secret what we do, how we became successful. You don't want to share that information. And I think when you become open, when your mom goes to church, say, my daughter's coming to town, this is what she does, and blah, blah, blah. Pray for my baby, and so on. And I think is that, but it's really just being accessible. And being accessible, you want to act accessible as well. Potentially, when you go home, when I go to see my uncle, so my mom lives one side of the village and my uncle the other side. And what I will do is I'll drive there. Drive fast. Don't even agree. But if you walk, if you actually walk, that actually makes you very accessible. People will be coming and hello. And,
talking to you.
Talking to you and reminding you all the silly things you used to do at school. So that's what I want to do actually.
That is
I want to start doing that.
And in actual fact, while you are talking to them, I think that one of the things that is not done, which could assist in impacting people, even like your mother, you're saying, she's never been anywhere close to a school. The problem is that when we talk about digitalization, we then start talking about there's this fancy thing. And I remember this one time watching a movie and this big shot guy in a big office. And these people are like, this is what we're going to do for the company, this is strategy. And he looks at them, he's like, okay, say what you just said, as if I'm a 2-year-old. And they couldn't, because, and he's like, if you cannot explain to me, like I'm a 4-year-old, then you don't know what you're talking about.
That's true. And I think maybe that's the basics of change management. That's why IT actually fails. In the event that I attended the CIO Summit on Tuesday, and I'm just trying to think, I remember Tendai's question, but he said he asked his students in Spain that which department in organizations are the hardest to work with when it comes to digital transformation. He given examples, okay? He said IT, legal and compliance, finance. Do you know which one came top, actually?
IT.
Yeah, which is funny.
Which is funny because
Yeah,
I would think legal and compliance.
exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I thought. Well, it came second, but I never thought of IT though.
No, because we think of it in such a second nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry, I have to ask you questions because we're running out of time.
Okay, cool.
So, Brandy, a question from Matabu. In your
Oh, I know myself.
Yes, you do. In your own understanding, looking at digitalization in South Africa, what would you say is an effective methodological tool to help identify the human projected impacts of digital age? You, Matabu,
Jeez.
especially with the old uneducated people.
But repeat the question. I need to think about this. Macho, why are you asking hard
This is
questions?
a very hard question.
I'll call
In
it after
your
this
own
call.
understanding, looking at digitalization in South Africa,
Yeah.
what would you say is an effective methodological tool? It wasn't the first time I said it right.
Yeah.
To help identify the human projected impacts. Oh, I see, I hear it.
Yeah.
The human projected impacts of digital age.
Sure.
It's quite a
Yeah. So.
for a tool.
No,
especially.
not the tool
Yeah,
specifically, but
yeah.
but what I can say to her though, there are organizations that have billions of rands on the research on this particular thing. I mean, if you look at UN not millennium goals, but UN sustainability goals or whatever it is, you'll see there's a lot of material on how digitalization impact your societies. You can zoom in to a country. So now I understand your question, but I think there's certainly research as one of the tools. To be honest, there isn't something that you can just plug.
Yeah.
I think there has to be a collaboration of governments. I feel what WEF, World Economic Forum, what they're doing. In fact, the digitalization impact was founded within that organization.
Yeah.
So they probably have the best tools, which
Yeah.
quite frankly obviously rely on AI and
Yes,
and so on to do those production, but projections. But I didn't know a single tool by myself, but I have used WEF. They have this chart that you can zoom into the impact of digitalization, zoom into even different countries, but it's a contribution of almost governments, institutions to that. It's a hard one.
It is a hard one, especially, I mean, if she's thinking at the end, because she says, especially for the old uneducated people.
Yeah, like my
And
mom.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying that, I mean, that's not a tool, but one of the things to your point that you were saying would be the going back and actually talking to these people, but without the talking to them as if you're talking to like a CEO and some other.
I can force my mom to
explain it.
I can force my mom to change it. It's just how you give your money.
And that's true.
How we
Actually,
pay
it's the things that matter
the
to
pension
them.
funds. What is it called?
Yes.
Yeah. So that you're gonna now they pay. There's no cash anymore. I
You
think there's no
force.
cash actually. Oh, there is cash sometimes. Yeah.
Because I actually had to teach my
But it's a hard question.
my nanny to actually have an app. Because I was just like,
there you go.
but it must be something that impacts them on a daily basis. Matam.
It's a research question. I think
It is a research.
my time should go study MBA, and I'm looking forward for her to have this as a research.
Yes.
Research.
The pressure is on. We're gonna check on you. Matam. Okay, how has digital transformation impacted you and how you work from the time?
Okay, so wow. I think, sure. This is how many minutes we have?
It's
It's a really good question though, because it's really a personal question.
Yeah.
So for me, many layers, right? One is I actually realize that
5 minutes.
for me to have the type of thinking that I have to be open and to actually realize I didn't know everything. So I rely a lot. I've got a lot of consultants around me. People calling me. People just saying, Brandon, can we sit down and talk? And I was like, in most cases, conferences, one of those. But the key one was leadership.
Okay.
You know, I think I struggled personally when I used to work in the US. I used to like people calling my name. You know, I ran, SharePoint shop, and the whole thing was about branding,
Okay.
and that actually crushed me
Mm.
at some point. Where I struggled to let go
Okay.
of things,
Yeah.
right? So digitalization really, from leadership perspective, obviously with education that I'm going through now, the type of leadership that is leading me, I learned to empower others, to see my success through others. And I always say, and I said this to my team, there is no way at work that will give me a higher performance because it's me.
Mm.
I'm a manager.
Yeah.
So meaning someone actually has done the work.
Yes.
If you think about it.
Yes.
So digitalization really from leadership perspective, it impacted me from that perspective. Um,
Mind shift.
my shift is different. I mean,
Mm.
look, to run this, I feel you still need transformational or seven type of
Definitely,
leadership. I think
yeah.
those two
Yeah.
will probably be the highest. So I would say maybe leadership. Start with leadership, and I'd like to get maybe input from my team. But it was hard as well because at work, the work that I used to do, I had to hand it over to someone else, and seeing that person excelling. Well, at first that was hard for me because
But you mean you started it, so you should just I gave you a starting point.
But I had to learn. It's like, hey, just let this one go.
Yeah.
Let this guy shine because when he shines, yeah. So when he shines,
Yeah.
I shine.
Leadership 101.
Yeah, there you go.
Matabo again, what are your views when it comes to security concerns that come with digital transformation?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
actually one of
That's a
the
big one.
things I was thinking about.
Yeah, no, it's a big one. So I'll be talking or speaking at IT Web Forum just around DevSecOps. And I'm not in cybersecurity, by the way, but I talk about security. So my views is obviously we have seen a lot of companies, whether you talk about Microsoft, governments, Amazon, being impacted by hackers, for example, right? You see the world of crypto, how it came about. It was, hacking there is quite serious. And I feel that security needs to be a subject for everybody. In fact, it should be one of the things that you measure in IT, at least in the IT department. So IT security, cybersecurity should be everyone's job in an organization. So that's my view.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I talk about it actually. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Is that all the questions?
Hey,
I think we've run out of time.
Did we?
We have.
I was just warming up though.
I know, right?
Yeah,
It always feels like that.
yeah, okay. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Praveen.
Thank you guys.
For your time.
Yeah,
This
thank
was
you.
very insightful.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have another conversation soon.
Yeah, I'm sure my
Thank you
kids
to
will
you.
watch this video sometime soon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone online.
Yeah.
And I hope you enjoyed the
Thank you
live.
guys.
It has been amazing. Mwah. Catch you next time. This was nice.